Le Nissan Kick-Play 2025 a beaucoup de plus. Apple CarPlay intégré pour jouer vos tunes préférées, des fonctions avancées de sécurité, un rendement énergétique remarquable, puis même la petite odeur de char neuf qu'on aime tant. Tout ça en plus pour moins. Le Nissan Kick Play 2025 est le véhicule neuf le plus abordable au Québec. Achetez-le à partir de seulement 22 774 $, incluant un rabais à l'achat comptant de 2 600 $. Profitez de cette offre avantageuse chez votre concessionnaire dès maintenant. Jusqu'au 2 mars, des conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. It's the second hour of the program. We're going to begin this second hour by welcoming Mitchell Brownstein onto the show. Of course, he's the mayor of Côte-Saint-Luc, and he's on the line. Mayor Brownstein, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Elias.
Now, I see you in the headlines here urging the mayor of Montreal, Valérie Plante, to do a little bit more when it comes to some of the protests we've been seeing, the pro-Palestinian protests we've been seeing. You're accusing the police of enabling the quote-unquote normalization of antisemitism. Let's talk about this, Mr. Mayor Brownstein. Tell me more. Tell me why you're speaking out here.
Well, first of all, we're not accusing the police of anything. They're doing the best job that they can under the circumstances. What is needed is a different policing strategy, which comes from the top. And we're asking Valérie Plante to send that message to ensure that the police understand that just the de-escalation of violence is not acceptable. Right now, the policy, the strategy is if nobody gets hurt at the end of a protest, everything's okay. That's not good enough. We need to make arrests. We need to enforce the rule of law. People cannot be allowed to tolerate illegal behavior, such as blocking the street or graffiti on cars or the university occupations. And these are all illegal. These are illegal assemblies, and they're being tolerated. We need arrests in order to deter further activity that's making the Jewish community feel very uncomfortable.
So how would you suggest the police go about that? You know, like Fadi Daguerre has been on CJD 800. He was on with Aaron Rand a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned court rulings, right? That, you know, the kettling, right? That's not allowed anymore. Courts have ruled against that. And I'm just trying to think of scenarios where there are hundreds, perhaps 1,000 people on a street. They're breaking the law. Well, what are police supposed to do other than just wait it out and hope that it de-escalates? I'm just trying to get through the real world way that you get this done without making the situation worse. If the laws don't back you up.
It's a tough situation, particularly when people are wearing masks and our police force doesn't have the tools such as body cams to identify clearly the hate speech and the individuals who are doing what they're doing. If you're breaking windows and clearly contravening the criminal code, you have to be able to identify the people. 3 arrests is not sufficient. You have to be able to identify all the people, and if you can, and arrest them, as many as you can, you're going to deter further assemblies of that nature and further protests that are completely criminal and are intimidating our community.
Just on the masks, right? I mean, that's another thing. This is apparently court rulings have outlined that. Well, it's in light of what happened with the pandemic. Well, the masks are allowed. They're not going anywhere. So again, is the issue more with how the law is either being interpreted by judges as opposed to police or elected officials?
Well, I don't know how a judge would rule now after seeing what's been going on in today's society. But Article 66 of the Criminal Code already says, I mean, it's already clear that you're not allowed to participate in an unlawful assembly wearing a mask. That's in the Criminal Code. So you have to distinguish, is the assembly a peaceful demonstration, and when does it become unlawful because it's no longer peaceful? And then you're going to tell everybody to take off their masks. I think they need a bylaw that can support that, and that is the legal question that everybody's trying to figure out. But it's already in the criminal code. You're not allowed to conceal your identity if you're part of an unlawful assembly.
So why do you think the strategy is what it is? Why do you think, whether it's the mayor of Montreal or the chief of police, why do you think they've allowed things to proceed like they have?
Well, the chief of police, they want a mask bylaw. They're asking for it. They're finding it difficult to do their job in the present context. Like, as I said, they're going to start telling people to take off their masks because they're doing illegal things, such as not respecting court injunction in front of a synagogue. Mm-hmm. They need something more in order to be able to identify. And I think hopefully a mask bylaw by the City of Montreal would assist. And it would have to use words that deal with what's already in the criminal code and explain that the situation right now is so untenable that we need to ensure that people are not masked when they protest. With
the mayor of Côte-Saint-Luc, Mitchell Brownstein. Mayor Brownstein, I want to talk about Friday and the premier's comments on Friday. He was doing his end of parliamentary session press conference with journalists, and the subject came up, and he said that the government is looking at banning prayer in public spaces, in streets, in parks. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Do you think is what we're talking about here? Is there a connection? I should point out yesterday there was a Montreal for Palestine was one of the groups that had a protest yesterday, and they blocked the street in front of Notre Dame Basilica and prayed. Do you find any connection here? What are your thoughts on what the premier had to say?
Well, blocking the street is illegal in itself. In terms of prayer, it's going to be very difficult because there's certain things. I mean, what do you determine to be prayer? Is it lighting the Hanukkah menorah? Supposedly not. The Christmas tree, doing carols? Supposedly not. It's very difficult. And I know he wants to create a secular society in Quebec, and that's understandable. But there's limits on also protection for religious prayers. So I'm not a specialist in that. I understand his logic and his efforts, but it's not with what we here in Cote-Saint-Luc are asking for. We want to stop the violence and the hate that's taking place in these protests that is causing our community to feel uncomfortable and not welcome in Quebec society in a way that we've never felt since before the Second World War.
Now, maybe on this subject of public prayer ban, that's a separate issue, but the premier has had some tough words for what he has seen in the streets of Montreal, and I know he's received some support for those tough words. Overall, what do you think about how the premier of Quebec has handled some of the issues that we've been discussing so far?
I think he's done well, and I think the police force, the Quebec police force, did well too in terms of when the Jacques Cartier Bridge was shut down. They cleared it. You know, what's happening in Montreal is different than in Longueuil. The police force used their escalated police strategies to clear the tracks when there was a blockade on for the railway. So I think the mayor of Montreal could learn a lot from what's happening in other jurisdictions and do the same.
Would you worry though that could lead to further de-escalation and violence? Isn't there a risk of doing? And I know maybe not doing anything. There's risks to that as well. Every decision has consequences. But do you worry about the risks, the consequences of the police and the mayor being tougher here?
The only way you're going to deter violence and hate speech is by enforcing the rule of law. And that's not happening right now. You want any protests that do occur to be peaceful. You don't want people citing death to the Jews, final solution. It has to be stopped immediately. And if it's stopped immediately, then the protests will become more respectful. Right now, you're saying from the river to the sea, you know, there all kinds of genocidal comments are being made. And then it goes further when they start spray painting cars and breaking windows. So if you want that to stop, you need to enforce the rule of law. You can't just go for, okay, let's just try to de-escalate and keep it calm. It's not enough.
Mayor Brownstein, have to leave it there. Thanks so much for hopping on with us today.
Thank you.
That's the mayor of Côte-Saint-Luc, Mitchell Brownstein.